in Dune they say, control the spice, control the universe? With feminism and with any kind of movement to end a specific group's oppression, he who controls the narrative controls the universe.
Hello, I'm Summer Tothill and I regularly run Q&As with my supporters on Instagram on matters relating to gender equality. So what you're about to watch is 1 week's worth of these, and if you would like to get involved with them yourself, just come and follow me on Instagram at Summer Tothill. While you're here, please stick around and subscribe to my channel and check out the rest of the Ask a Feminist playlist.
What's your take on why feminism has become a tainted word? Well, now you see, the thing is, feminism has always been a tainted word. Feminism has never had full mainstream acceptance as a benevolent movement that is here to help and not harm anyone. As far back as there have been women's liberatory movements, there have been movements to discredit what those women's liberatory movements are trying to do, what they're about, and who they're for. You have to think about this in terms of who benefits from feminism being tainted. It's men and the patriarchy. And you know how in Dune they say, control the spice, control the universe? With feminism and with any kind of movement to end a specific group's oppression, the message could be, he who controls the narrative controls the universe. And so because patriarchal systems and structures such as the church, the media, politics, are the structures holding the power who get to create the cultural narrative around what things are and aren't, there has always been the ability to characterize feminism as something that is bad. And of course, it suits men and it suits patriarchy to discredit feminism and to make women feel like it is a bad thing to be feminist and that it will make them ugly and undesirable, because feminism is what seeks to remove women from the obligation to devote their entire lives to the service of men, to assisting men socially, politically, economically, culturally, to provide them with domestic and child-rearing labor, administrative labor, emotional labor, to sacrifice our earning potential and our social and political power so that they can have it. Feminism seeks to destroy men's chokehold over power. So why wouldn't the men who have the power characterize feminism as bad? And the way that they do this primarily is by making sure women know that adhering to feminism makes them undesirable. Because patriarchy has, of course, set up this narrative that the only thing that makes a woman worthy and worthwhile in the world is her desirability to men. And of course, we are bit by bit breaking out of that, but there has never been a stage in the feminist movement where feminism was not seen as an F word, as it were. So men and patriarchy get to determine what is acceptable behavior and an acceptable role for women. And then when women start to push against that and to point out the inconsistencies and the double standards in that, men simply move the goalpost of what the standard was. So you can never actually fulfill what it is to be the right kind of woman. There'll always be some way to say, well, you didn't behave correctly as a woman, and so you deserved your abuse, oppression, exploitation. Patriarchal men, of course, want to characterize feminism as bad and extreme because it seeks to diminish and destroy the structures that they benefit from. And these are arbitrary structures based on gender. Feminism, when it achieves its aim, shows improvements in things like infant health and mortality, well-being across the board. Economies improve when women have greater power and access. Men benefit from feminist gains. Feminism is nothing but positive, nothing but benevolent, and nothing but a movement to progress equality and justice and end oppression in society. And the only reason that you would want to taint that movement is if you benefit from that injustice and those systems of oppression. We may never reach a point where being a feminist is not a dirty word. I mean, I even often feel a little restricted on social media platforms when I use the word, because I can tell that algorithmically, both Meta and Google repress that content. And part of that perhaps is because there is so much violent manosphere content out there in the world now, and it explicitly uses the word feminism a lot. every single time feminism starts to take a strong hold on women and more women start to take great strides in their own liberation, there is always a backlash. Susan Faludi wrote a book decades ago called Backlash, which specifically shows how every time feminism makes gains for women, there is an equally violent and intense backlash from power structures, church, government, to strip women of those rights or to create new cultural narratives that discredit women. Can you suggest some more words to block to avoid misogynistic trolls online? Yes, I can. The last time I did this, you guys really loved it. I think you found it really useful when I gave you a list of things to block, mute, get rid of from your comments and your DMs if you want to filter out misogynistic rhetoric from your online life. The reason that this works is because a lot of the guys who are peddling misogyny online are really just watching a lot of the same manosphere content. They're parroting the same phrases, information, false statistics, and they have a huge amount of the same rhetoric. So if you actually block these like specific phrases from your DMs, your inbox, your comments, you actually will see like a massive percentage less trolls when you talk about women's issues or just when you talk in general as a woman online. So here we go with the first one that I can't believe I missed last time. So drizzle drizzle is a reaction to the sprinkle sprinkle movement, right? And sprinkle sprinkle was started by this woman on TikTok whose name I can't remember, who basically is a proponent of the idea that women should try to get men to give them a soft life by, paying for things for them, being nice, kind, generous to them. It's sort of like, don't give men too much, just kind of sprinkle kindness on them and you will get showered in generosity. So drizzle drizzle is this deliberately sort of euphemistic, disgusting turnabout of that, which is to say that men should try to exploit women as much as possible. And of course, they use this term drizzle drizzle because it sounds kind of gross and it sounds like, something in particular. Of course, we have hit the wall. This is the concept that women get to a certain age and they, quote, hit the wall in terms of like they hit the limit of their capacity, and what that capacity is their attractiveness and their value. And of course, these men believe women's value only lies in their attractiveness, and of course what goes hand in hand with that is that their attractiveness is based in their youth. So they always say that women hit a wall at a particular age. For some men it's like as young as 27, some will say it's like 30, some will say it's 40, but the idea is these guys are really only interested in women who are young, and of course they are only interested in women who are young because younger women are more naive, less likely to be able to call these guys out on their shit and perceive when they are being really terrible people. So, what does that say about guys who have this belief system? Kind of similar to hit the wall is used car. You'll hear misogynistic men comparing women to a used car, particularly if those women have had previous intimate partners, and if they've had a lot of them, it's like, oh, you wouldn't want to drive a used car, which for starters, yes, I would, and I do, and I always have, and it's a pretty good financial decision to make because new cars are not an investment. But anyway, I digress. Comparing a woman to a used car is just straight up objectification. It's stripping women of their humanity, stripping them of their independence and their ability to make consensual decisions about their own intimate life, and to have that not affect them or their value as a person in any way. Also, side note, there really shouldn't be and isn't a system of what makes a person valuable, but it is extremely telling that these misogynists find it so incredibly important to build up a value system that they can rate women along. I don't know how much I can show this next one. It's like the feminine version of I don't want to show it in case I get blocked. There's this idea that like feminist women are the femme version of that, even though being feminist doesn't in any way affect your ability to get laid, and being an incel is a literal declaration that you can't get laid. It's just an incredibly hateful term. And this last one is maybe not so necessary, but ladies. I just find personally there are very few incidences of people using the word ladies where they're not being super patronizing and like low-key or high-key misogynistic. Mostly they are referred to as women, and when they are referred to as ladies, it's in a very like fedora wearing, let me patronize you and mansplain to you about what you just said. Let me tell you how to live your life. Ladies, you should have closed your legs because men can't be expected to sow their seed responsibly. Anyway, hope this list helps. That's it for this Q&A. Thank you so much for listening. Find me on Instagram at summertothill. That's summer with an O, spelt the same way as you see in this YouTube channel. I can't wait to see you there.